So, you're a math professor here at Mississippi State. How'd you get here, Mr. Jones?
Well,
Where did it all start?
it's not fun. Okay, I never in a million years, number one, dreamt that I would be getting a PhD, So, when I actually got to college, that's when everything became clear to me, and I wanted to do more, and I wanted to learn more. But in high school, I don't think I had a notion of drive, but it was a lot of other things that was going on, physically, socially, mentally. A lot of those things were, a major factor in a hindrance, for me in the community that I grew up in. But when I actually went to college, it was a more positive, environment. The people there, they were, very helpful and they were more optimistic people. And when I got to college, I met, some very great people, Dr. Latanya Garner, Dr. Constance Bland, Lee Redmond, Dr. Wu. So I met a lot of great people in college that actually influenced my life to want me to do more and wanted me to do better. Dr. Candace Stevenson, a lot of great people. And when I got to college, a lot of my professors was like, you need to be polished. You need to be polished. But I never knew what that meant by needing to be polished because I come from this. I'm not going to say that it was, you know, underserved, but I think it was this area where a lot of people didn't make it because they didn't have the right tools and they didn't have the right people to support them. Didn't have like a good support system. And after I I of course I learned those things, but after a few years at Mississippi Valley State University, my home away from home, um, I actually became very good at in math, and I didn't know that I was good at math. Number one, because like no one had ever told me, that hey, you're good, or hey, you could do this. I had never heard those words. In the education on the educational side of my life, and college was an eye opener for me, and it changed the dynamics of my life. As a whole, I held numerous titles in undergraduate. I became like a leader. I became like a beacon of hope for a lot of people in my hometown. And I think that because of my hometown, because when I graduated, I actually graduated college early, 3 years. And, I came on to Mississippi State and got my master's degree. So I did a lot of great things, and it was a lot of, and it was very impressive coming from a really small town, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would like to think that me going to Valley and actually doing well, and not just me, it was a multitude of us. It was a few of us that came along with me. Um, and we went on, and a lot of people from my hometown now actually goes to Valley, like a lot of the top students, because before I actually went to Valley, you may have like one or two top students from my hometown that would actually go to Valley, but now you have a lot of, people from my hometown to actually go to Valley and go to college and, study there and do really well now. Um, and, I would like to think I had some kind of dealing with that, not a lot, but some kind of role that I played,
You started like the pipeline of it, kind of.
kind of, sort of, and I want to say that I don't want to say that I did it alone because I know that I had help along the way, and a lot of people helped me, and a lot of the great work that the people at Mississippi Valley State University do, a lot of the work that they do in the like the recruitment, and and I think that because I was able to do a lot of great things, I had done research, I had done internships, and I had accumulated a lot of money, to be a college student. Really accumulated a lot of money, and then like when we went back to my high school, I could tell them all of the great things that I had done that was afforded to me because I chose to go to the educational oasis of the Delta, you know, and it was very, very, very good for me, and I came on to Mississippi State. And all of the great things continued on. All of the great things continued on. The professors here are wonderful. Of course, the classwork, it gets a little tougher, because you, of course, should be getting a master's and a PhD program and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So things get tougher. But I was told a quote, and when I was an undergraduate, because when I was an undergraduate, I actually failed my first test. I made it. I think it was a 27 or 37 on the first exam I had ever taken in college. And I decided that, this is not for me. I'm going to give up. I didn't want to do this. I'm like, I think it was a 27. I said, oh my God, I made a 27. And so the chair of the department, Dr. Constance Bland, she called me and she said, if you give up now, you've given up on everything that you ever want to be or everything you ever thought you wanted to become. She said, when a tough get going, the going gotta get tough. And I use that. And every time I think about all of the times of wanting to give up and all the times that I just decided, there is nothing else for me to do. There is something else for me to do. Go to sleep, relax, and start back over again. Work hard. Sometimes it just takes, stepping away from what you're looking at if you've been looking at it so long and actually go back at it again. And because of those conversations that I had at Valley and a lot of them here in Mississippi State with a lot of people here, I learned a great deal of information, So it was very good, my transition from a historically black college or university to a predominantly white institution, it was very good for me. At first, I was really shocked because, and a little crazy thing happened to me my first day of class. So I went into class and I asked my professor, I said, where the rest of me at? And he was like, what do you mean the rest of you? I said, the rest of the black people. And I was the only one there. So we laughed about it. A lot of my friends, a lot of people that weren't my friend then because I had just, got into the class, but they are my friends now, And I wouldn't trade these people that I met here for the world. So, and I've learned so much more about the white culture. It's very different from me. And being here at Mississippi State, I not only have learned a lot of mathematics, but I have learned a lot about the different cultures around the world. It has opened my eyes a lot more, before, because I was raised in this very small, segregated town in the Mississippi Delta, on Mississippi, where for the most part you have the white students that attend the private school, Harvard Academy. You have the black school, black students, for an exception of probably 1 to 2 white people that attends the public, school. But it's very different, being here at Mississippi State, and I have been, I have had a lot of great things that happen to me here, and I love what I do. I think that I fell in love with teaching because that is when my life changed, when I actually met professors and I met other instructors and things like that, and my life changed. And I think that my gift back to the world would be to make sure that I be the best educator that I can be, and to uphold all of the good things, that the professors had done for me, and I do the same thing for them, And so, being an educator is what I wanted to do. It's what I want to do. It's what I love to do. And I think that the students, when I'm teaching, they understand and they can see my passion, because of course we have to do those evaluations at the end of the year, and things like that. And so far I've been getting very good, evaluations. The students the students, they say very nice things about me. And,
I mean, when has anybody ever said anything bad? I can't see of anybody doing that.
Oh, well, you don't see, in my life, I have really changed. I've really changed because before I got to college, I was very defensive. I was always angry. I yelled. I used to. I wasn't the person that I am today. I've changed, and of course, me being the person I am today, I didn't see the changes happening when they were happening, but when I look back now, I know that I have changed in tenfold, and I'm very grateful for that. And so, of course, if you dig in my past, will people say bad things about me? Of course they will. But probably for the past 6 years now, 6 to 8 years of my life, will people say bad things? Probably not. And but that goes to show that I think that I've been growing, learning a lot. And I was told this when I went to Mississippi Valley State University. They said, if you leave here the same person you came, then we have failed to do our job. And that is the message that I take into the classroom when I go into the classroom. If you do not learn, if you do not grow, something has to change in you from the time that I meet you until the time that you leave me. That is the job of an educator. We have to make sure that you leave with some kind of understanding And I think that for the most part, when people come to college, they think that, okay, college is the place where I go and I learn my subject matter and I leave. But that's not true. College is this place where we should prepare you, socially, academically. We should prepare you with the knowledge to be able to survive financially. That is what we do as a college, as an institution. That is our job. If we only educate you subject matter, we have failed you. Because we can teach you as much as you possibly can learn, but if we do not teach you how to actually survive once you leave us, then we have failed you. Because you're not going to be with us forever. We have to prepare you if you want to go into the industry, if you want to come back into the academic arena. We have to prepare you for all the different walks of life. And I think that as an educator, I'm not going to say that all of the educators fail to do it. I'm not, because I don't know all of the educators, but I will say that for the vast majority of the educators that I have come into contact with and that I have been, happy to grace their presence, or they were happy to grace my presence, that we have a notion where we have to make sure that we help the students to be able to survive outside of our, outside of our classroom. And so, and that is the notion that I take with me into the classroom. And for an example, if I just walk on Mississippi State campus and the students see me, they always say, "Hey, Mr. Jones, how you doing?" And everyone's like, "Chartese, you know everyone." It's not that I know everyone; it's just that I live my life to where I will never meet a stranger. Because whether you know me or you don't know me, I'm gonna be approachable, and so it won't be like you'll be afraid to ask me a question or anything because you're never supposed to meet a stranger, and I truly live by that, and so. I just keep living and I just keep working towards becoming the person that I am, or the person that I think that I should be, with the help of a lot of people. Because I will tell you this, I will not be here if it was not for the people in the world. It was some people, of course, gave other recommendations, pulled some strings, gave me the okay, helped me out, and I will not forget that. And so when people be asking me, because of course I have to get some, I had to go back to my high school and I had to say, well, some people ask me, well, who inspired you the most? Well, I couldn't just narrow it down to one person. Because yes, my mom was a major influential figure in my life. But I learned so much more when I went into the world. And so do I say my mom influenced me the most, or do I say the world? I would say, everyone, everything, I take everything as a life lesson. So sometimes before I was like really nice to everyone, and I was understanding. I used to be mean, and so if someone, just had this quote or said something to me, I got very angry and I got very defensive, and I used to attack them. But I've learned a lot, and I've grown, and I just be like, I'm waiting on you to finish. And once you finish, we can have a conversation like adults, like true adults. And I think the students love my class because I give them that time to be the adult that they are. You can't be a child in my class because everyone in the class, everybody, they are adults. And I treat them as if they are. I'm like, if you have a difference of opinion with me, say it. I'm going to respect your opinion. And that's how I think that some people in the education arena, I don't know how many, I don't want to put a number on it because I haven't met everybody in the education arena, I will say that. But I think some people be like, these kids, and I'm like, you have to remember, these are not kids, these are students. These are adults, they are students, you know what I mean? And so, and I think because I keep that in my mind when I'm teaching and talking to the students, I let them know, hey, this is what I want you all to do. This is what is necessary to do well in this class. This, that, forth, and other.
Don't come in on the first day without a piece of paper.
Of course, that's just like going to work without a briefcase.
Yeah, or your suit.
Or your suit. And I really, really, really put a lot of emphasis on being on time and having the necessary material you need to actually do the job. And I can say this because I have this very, very, very intelligent student. I mean, very intelligent. But he doesn't come to class all the time. And so I actually asked him about it one day, and he stated, well, I understand the material. And I said, well, okay. I said, well, you can understand how to do the job, But if you're not there, is the job going to get done? And he said, no. I said, exactly. I said, so that's the notion that I said, we are preparing you to be on time and punctual, consistent, persistent, and I'm telling you, this is our job. This is what we're supposed to be doing. We know that you understand the content. We hope you understand the content. But we are preparing you because if you're not a math major in my field, or if you're not an English major, if you're not a history major, if you're not majoring in those fields, but you have to take those classes, do we think you're going to use all of the material we teach you once you leave us? No. That's why coming to college and getting the education and training is much more than just getting knowledge. We have to teach you on time management skills, how to have to have adequate posture, how to sit up, do all those kind of things. And so I think that something has got lost in the shuffle, where people think college is just a place where you come get content and you leave. No, college is a place where you network. College is the place where you actually meet people you're gonna work with these people in the industry or in the education arena. And so you wanna network. But if you're never in class, if you're never in class, you can't network because you don't know anyone. And you're not really being responsible for your actions if you're never in class. I can know all the material in the world. And like I told him, I'm the teacher. Of course I know the material. But do you want me to just miss class because I know the material? No, because you want to, it's your job. It is your responsibility to do those things. And I really put a lot of focus in training and time into the students, because if we can educate all of the students, of course we can try, but there are going to be some outliers. But the more educated the race is, and the more educated they are, the better the United States of America, not just the United States of America, the entire world, because we have different people from all over the country here. And so I tell people that you don't want to have a dumb community. You don't want that. And you don't want people to think for you. So if you do nothing else in life, you have to think for yourself and learn how to be responsible for your actions. Because you know how you may have a child he or she may grow up in a impoverished neighborhood or impoverished community, and they actually make it out. But when they make it out, you don't hear them saying, "I'm gonna blame you for making it out." But and on the flip side of the coin, you may have a student who didn't make it out, and they blame everybody else for them not making it out. Will I say that the way that the system is set up, will all the students be successful? No. Can all the students be successful? Yes. Will they? No. And I think that we have to have a serious conversation in America, about the different races and educating the people, because for some strange reason in America they say we have the same opportunities. We don't have the same opportunities. But in some instances, without a mental defect or a physical defect, we have the same potential. Because of course people have mental blocks and physical blocks where they can't fully possess, or fully live out their full potential because of those blockages and things like that. Do we have the same opportunities? We don't have the same opportunities. Is it possible for us to have the same potential? Yes. And the reason I say we don't have the same opportunities is because of this. I come from a predominantly black community. I come from probably what people may say is like the probably worst area in Mississippi. It's the Mississippi Delta. And you may have a student who comes from like another African American student that may come from a more upscale community where his mom and dad may have a little more or something like that. Do we have the same opportunities? No, because I don't have the same networking opportunities that he has. I don't have the same, I don't have that community that he has. I don't have that structure. But do I have the potential to actually work hard and get there? Yes. And so when people when people say these outrageous things that all of us have the same opportunities, we don't have the same opportunities. Because about 60 years ago or 80 years ago, certain people in America weren't oppressed. Certain people didn't have to deal with certain things. You know what I mean? And so we have to know that when we say same opportunities, in order to have the same opportunities, you have to be on the same playing field. And we're not on the same playing field. But we are given the ability with the potential that we have to be able to one day get there to the same opportunities. But we don't have the same opportunities, we have the same potential. And I try to live to help all the students find that potential. And so, me where I am today is more so of understanding a lot of things and understanding people and loving the humans and being able to appreciate people for who they are and to treat students fairly and nicely. But for the most part, I love this job. I love teaching. And I hope that one day I could just be a very, very, very good professor, you know, to the students to make sure that they learn. And I want the students to love, you know, school. And I want to put fun back in school. I want to laugh.
Wait.
Because I'm actually still learning a lot about, because I'm very young in this field. I'm only 24 years old. And I have learned, because I'm learning a lot about, like, the structure of the students and things like that. Like, for example, I wouldn't have the experience, you know, like a person that has been in the field for 25 years. They have seen a lot. They know a lot more. They know how to deal with situations. But so, like, the older I get and the more experience that I have, I think I will become a better professor or better instructor based on, like, my experiences. I think that me coming into contact with different students will help me build that experience, you know, that experience book, a book of experience, I would call it. And that will make me a much better teacher or a much better instructor, professor, you know, or whatever. But I think that with greatness comes, you know, in order to conquer greatness, you have to have time on your side. And only will we be able to live out our full potential when we are able to understand and live into those experiences, I think. So maybe one day I can be a really good professor. And so that is my life. And that is my life, and that is how I end up here. And those are the people, the world, which actually influenced me to think of a lot of things a certain way, you know, or to not think of things a certain way. So, for the most part, I'm grateful, and I'm gonna keep working hard, you know, and keep striving for a better tomorrow, and I just keep living. That's what I want to do.